All right, we are live. Welcome to our Mandalorian Season 3 finale wrap-up, our full breakdown and review. We've gone through every single episode of this so far. I'm Dan Umpton.
And I'm Damon Tucker.
And we're just gonna start breaking it down in all of its glory. This was a lot, and not entirely what I expected out of this.
Yeah, definitely not. I wasn't expecting so much resolution.
Yeah,
I was expecting to leave on much more of a cliffhanger. Not so many, not so many things actually just getting tied up in a nice bow, which is kind of cool because it definitely leaves more room for whatever direction season 4 ends up taking it. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting way of wrapping up the season. Like they could really just go like, "Yep, that's the end of the Mandalorian," and it kind of
it really did feel like a series finale.
Mm-hmm.
Which had me a little scared for a second because I would like more. And to people who are just popping in here, all of a sudden, just so people know, we are going to get into a lot of spoilers here. So if you have not watched this episode, just come back to this later because you'll still be able to check it out. So, and I think I scared away the the people who were watching at the moment, but there's a lot of threads that are left wide open. But there are a few that either get closed or certainly appear to be closed.
Yeah.
So I guess just to recap here, we jump back in as the remaining Mandalorians are fleeing the Imperial base that's on Mandalore. Paz is obviously he stayed behind. He's gone, and Din's captured, and everybody's running the other direction. Axe is in communication with them, and he's headed towards the fleet to let them know, hey, you need to get out of there. And then I think that they cut to Grogu's or Din first. In a very solid fight scene, which, like, it felt like. Do you remember the second episode of Daredevil on Netflix?
Yeah, the hallway.
Yeah, where it's just this continuous shot of just him absolutely demolishing person after person. And this was not as intense, but it was the same kind of like, you're very limited and you're in a tight space.
Yeah, yeah.
And it felt like that was a metaphor for the entire episode.
For sure. I also really like that even though we're at the finale of the third season, we've still kind of seen throughout the entirety of the run of this show that that Din is competent, but he's not like an ultimate badass. He gets knocked around quite a bit.
Yes.
He doesn't just he's not just like Apex, no one's landing punches on him. He's not getting shot. Like he's getting the crap kicked out of him even when he's winning. So that's the thing I really like about the show. And even as much as he's kind of progressed, even in that little hallway scene, he's not he's not just got ultimate plot armor where he can't get beat.
Right, he's getting slapped around pretty good, and there. I love the fact that Grogu goes in there and like sprays him with, what is it, back to spray?
I would have to guess so. Yeah,
just like immediately, like presuming that he got his ass beat so hard that he needs like some kind of healing, and he's like, I'm fine, but he's spraying it all over the mask. I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. But I mean, Grogu comes in the clutch in that case, and does kind of does ultimately save him. And then I think that from there you see like obviously he escapes the two Imperial super commandos, and then the rest of the Mandalorians like rally. Axe gets in touch finally with the fleet. I think we were both expecting the armorer to have a heel turn or something else go on there.
I was expecting a heel turn from somewhere, whether it was from Axe or whether it was from the Mandalorians that they encountered on Mandalore, the survivors, or from the armorer. But surprisingly enough, there was no surprise.
Yeah,
and everybody really just kind of banded together. By the way, the armorer still only using melee weapons, only using the tools, just beating the shit out of people.
I can't imagine the scene where we had like all of the Mandalorians swinging into the cave on jetpacks, and Bo-Katan pulls out the Darksaber and is just ready to like start cutting people. Can you? I can imagine getting hit by a lightsaber, a Darksaber, whatever, at that speed, but getting hit by a hammer while you've got a jetpack and somebody else is hitting you with a jetpack powered hammer, it somehow does something to make me cringe a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah, she's giving people concussions for sure, if nothing else.
Yeah, people are getting just straight up rocked and hard. But they go and reconvene with the fleet. And Axe, I love the like the Amilyn Holdo Admiral Akbar choice that he makes, where he's like, I'm just going to scuttle this thing, and I know what I'm going to do. And he just gets everybody off of the craft. He's like, get to the drop ships, get out of here. So everybody else flees, and you think he's going to go down with the ship, and he just turns on all the auto turrets, which, if you could just do that all the time, why don't you just leave one person inside of a Venator? Is it a Venator class, or is that just a light cruiser?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know my starships well enough to.
I think the Venator is the one that has the open top. That's just the I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to. Anyway, I don't know why you wouldn't just have like. Why do you need that big of a crew for something like that?
I would have to imagine that the manual piloting of the turrets is preferred, and that auto is not super great. Picking the right targets, the smart targets to choose, or even necessarily being that accurate. But I mean, yeah, if you're just looking for general defense of just trying to keep people at bay, keep a distance. Yeah.
I mean, it did what it was supposed to do, which was continue operating until it became more or less like a cockpit surrounded by hot slag.
Yeah.
And because when you see it again, it is beat up, but there's nothing following him. Like there's no other interceptors or whatever, and he's just aiming it directly towards the hole. It's like tells Bo-Katan to get out because he's coming in hot, which I love. Anytime somebody says I'm coming in hot, I don't know why, but I think it's very funny. But yeah, dude, absolutely dominated. Axe Woves had an absolutely fantastic bit here.
I was definitely redeemed from kind of what we saw from him earlier of kind of being smug. He's as Bo-Katan said, Mandalorians work better when they work together. That's what keeps them going.
The one thing that we did predict that we did end up getting is a fully united Mandalore and a repatriation of what has become the Mandalorian people on Mandalore. So that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So we were right about things, but not everything by far.
Yeah. So one big thing that I was not expecting was that the clones were clones of Gideon.
Yeah.
Was not expecting Gideon. Now it does kind of check out with his character, that he's kind of so self-absorbed that he's like, I think the only thing that could be better is if I could wield the Force. So if I can make some clones of me, the perfect, specimen, all they need to do is be able to wield the Force. And we see, of course, that Din and Grogu destroy all of those, which infuriates him.
Yeah.
And then the fight, that was something.
Man, yeah. Yeah, the path to get there, where he has R5 open up one by one, cell after cell, or like shield after shield, and just has to go with progressively more brutal melee weapons. Like they start with knives, and then they go to like the shield and electro hammers or whatever. It's a little silly, and it's like, why would they have chosen very specific weapons that they get progressively more deadly? But they did, and I'm glad they did, because it was great.
Yeah, and of course he's like getting the weapons as he progresses, so he's like literally leveling up as he goes.
Yeah, I was in watching it, I was just like, this would make an excellent game. I would play the hell out of this. But yeah, once he actually gets to Gideon, I mean, he goes to take him on, and is clearly outclassed by the Dark Trooper armor. Which, shout out to bringing Dark Troopers back. I was a big Dark Forces fan back in the day.
Which, so I'm curious on this. Is it robotically powered? Does he have some sort of enhanced strength through the armor? It really seemed like there was some like droid tech in that like literally made his like grip and stuff stronger.
They gave him a little bit of Vader voice too when he put the helmet on. I noticed, which I was with. Yeah, I get the impression that Dark Trooper armor does enhance strength from base human strength, but he's also not like, he's not doing like Vader level like force pushes or anything like that. Like, it just seems like he's hitting at least as hard, but maybe not quite as hard as like an IG droid. I don't know.
It definitely seemed to be able to just like literally catch a punch in his hand. Stuff that didn't feel quite within the realm of regular human power.
Yeah. Which speaking of inhuman power, that's what we end up getting shortly thereafter, which is old Grogu's ends up getting cornered by the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah.
Who are extremely intense, and that is a hell of a scene. Because the second the Praetorian Guard came out and they cornered Grogu, I was watching this on my lunch break, and I literally said, "Fuck him up," out loud, because I was ready for him to just just take the little 3-fingered hand and just crunch him like a tin can or something. And that did not happen. That was a much harder fight than I think I expected it to be.
Yeah. I mean, there's a level of, he's not wielding any, he's not, tapping into the dark side at all. He's much too innocent of a child to do anything extremely, harmful.
Right.
And then of course, Bo-Katan shows up with the Darksaber and is then fighting Gideon, where our boy Din Djarin ends up in the midst of the Praetorian Guard. And that's when you see Grogu doing more stuff, just like kind of just pushing them a little bit. Just like grab their weapons and kick them a little bit further away from them. Just almost kind of teasing them.
He's not.
It was very kind of like playful, not super concerned. Just tipping the scales a little bit as Din was fighting them.
Yeah, it felt like it definitely felt more like Jedi style fighting, where it's less of an aggressive. It's more of a using their opponents, their momentum against them, pushing them off balance so Din can do his actual, offensive work. I mean, if we're talking about this in gaming terms, he's basically a support mage,
Yes.
which he was very effective in that respect, because he's force pushing. Like Praetorian guards are force adepts, right? I mean, like weren't they originally supposed to be like? I think that when they got introduced originally, they were supposed to be like tougher than Vader, and there was going to be some point in Return of the Jedi in like the original script where they were going to actually like fuck Vader up, but I don't think that happened. Obviously, I don't know, but I don't know if canonically those Praetorians are.
I would wager that they're actually maybe not.
Yeah,
that's
maybe
my guess. I feel like we would have seen something a little bit more than what we have if in the current canon that they are, or who knows.
Yeah.
But I mean, while all this is happening, the fight between Bo-Katan and Gideon is going on, and he straight up just crushes the Darksaber in his hand and breaks it, rendering it entirely useless.
It is gone. So yeah, that answers the question about droid tech, because I don't think you would have gotten that from somebody who's normal human powered.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely changes things in a pretty crazy big way, because he you've wrapped up literally decades worth of story by doing that.
Yeah.
But that is Favreau and Filoni's to do, I guess.
So I mean, my thought on this is, we've kind of been setting up for, is this thing important or is it not important? And with the last couple of episodes, it was really kind of a bait and switch almost, of like, yeah, this thing was important to get everybody behind you for this thing to happen, and then Din telling Bo-Katan, I don't care about this thing. My people don't care about this thing. Who cares? And now that they all have come together and they're back on Mandalore, I don't think it's going to be significant to them that this artifact is destroyed. She still defeated she not alone, but they together killed Gideon.
Yes, I mean, Axe played no small part in that. I mean, like Axe dropped a light cruiser on top of him and everyone, but that was. See, if we have to get into what we think about like season 4, if there's going to be, first of all, we've established that that Gideon clones existed, and he mentioned that there were multitudes of them. But my theory is, 1, that isn't all of them, or 2, he survived in that dark trooper armor, and it's like fused to him or something crazy. I don't know.
Oof.
But either way, I'm on board for him coming back, and he's a popular enough character. I think it would be surprising. Thrawn obviously is going to be involved at some point here, so I have to wonder about what they're going to do there. But yeah, I mean, Axe drops the light cruiser, they relight the forge, and they have a ceremony where Din. First of all, we find out that Din's actually his family name.
Right.
And Jaren is his actual given personal name, So it's like an Eastern naming convention. So Grogu
Which
is now
doesn't come
Din
from
Grogu.
Mandalore. Which doesn't come from Mandalore because they're,
Right.
of Clan Kryze, Clan Vizsla. They definitely. So I'm wondering if maybe just the armor has respected whatever, like the naming traditions are from Din's home world before he became a Mandalorian foundling.
Did they
Um,
establish which world it was? I don't remember.
they, I don't remember either.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
But yeah, that's it. That's an interesting. So we have Din Grogu now.
So yeah, he's officially Jaren's. That's going to be
Apprentice.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be so hard to actually do. But yeah, he's officially the apprentice. He and cannot take, still can't say the creed. But that gets bypassed, I guess, now that he's officially adopted in Mandalorian culture. So that squares that. And now they have a little plot of land with a cabin on Navarro where you have this cute little scene where he's playing levitating frogs, and it looks like Din is going to operate as a bounty hunter. So I don't think there's any question that they're going to come back to Din and Grogu in the future.
Which, by the
But
way, I just want to point out when he pitched the idea to Carson Teva about him, kind of working under the radar, operating for bounties that the New Republic can't handle in the Outer Rim. When they go in, first of all, he's basically Grogu is just like straight away just starts eating chicken nuggets. Is what literally looks like chicken nuggets, which is like all the memes that have existed since the
yep,
beginning of Mandalorian. I
chicken
could not
nuggies.
stop laughing about Grogu eating chicken nuggies. That was pretty hilarious. But also importantly, they pointed out that there was the head of a captured or a defeated IG droid, which apparently they got the parts necessary to rebuild IG-11, who's now working as the marshal on Navarro. So
Yeah,
kind of another nice bow on the end of that one. So they've got their marshal that they've been kind of pitching that Din Djarin might be, or has suggested that he could be, and IG-11 is back. So we got both. We got that character back in a new form, and we got a marshal on
yeah.
Navarro. So that's pretty
It
cool.
really it tied a bow on a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, for the series as a whole, which is why I think we were saying at the beginning that this does feel like a finale in a lot of ways to the series. The big threads that they haven't touched. One, I'm not convinced, like I mentioned earlier, that Gideon's either actually dead or that one of his clones didn't survive. I'd say
Or
that's
that there
probably
aren't
highly
clones
likely.
somewhere else, like it's reasonable to think that he could come back in some form.
Right. Two, they introduced Elia Kane, then did nothing else with her in this series.
Right.
So that's still a clear, like, she's an operative out there, and I guess maybe she was the spy referenced in chapter 23.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't done anything else with her.
And I mean, is Dr. Pershing still alive? Is he completely brain dead? Is he just fried into some sort of submission that Elia Kane can kind of have him do as she wants? What is left of, what is of the Empire remnants that she was kind of working alongside with? And there's that whole Shadow Council. That presumably we'll see more of when the Ahsoka series starts and Thrawn returns. But there's definitely a lot more. Definitely ways that the Ahsoka series is going to tie into whatever the Mandalorian, whatever direction the Mandalorian ends up going in next. But yeah, definitely some characters that haven't really been been touched. There's a big question mark next to what's going on with Elia Kane.
Yeah,
A whole long
you know,
episode of that.
there's got to be they have to address that at some point, and I'm sure that they will in probably Ahsoka. But I also I know what I need to do now between now and August is I have to binge however many seasons of Rebels exist.
4, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be. I can chew through. Yeah, we can do that. That's easily doable. Gives me a reason to keep Disney Plus in between too. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other things that we might have missed.
There's also the Mythosaur. You know, there's potential stuff going on there, especially specifically between Grogu with the connection that animals, the connection that he has with animals. Also, those, don't know what the species is called, those wyvern dragon things that they captured as foundlings. So there's a whole lot of stuff with that realm, that connection to the animals, and what does Bo-Katan do now? What next for the Mandalorians?
I'll tell you what I really thought, because a friend of mine texted me today. They were just like, "Hey, I just finished it," and mentioned that, how emotional it was, and that's the good kind of like, "Hey, heads up." But I thought that somebody died. I was like, either they're killing off Din Djarin or they're killing off Bo-Katan. And I honestly had thought that going in. And I'm very pleased that that's not the case. But I am all for very brutal storytelling.
Yeah.
So there's a degree to which I almost would have preferred that they had something like that happen even after pause. But I get that this is much, much, much more a popular, like, young adult and children's property than anything, and that's fine. I'm sure they're not going to kill
right.
the main character.
It's not Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones too, so wow.
But yeah, interested to see how the different clans, the different existing groups that have now come together, how they end up working together. They seem to kind of be on the same page now to some degree. So it'll be something to see how those slightly different cultures end up going together, especially since we saw, Ragnar take his creed, give his creed, so that you've got a young generation that's going to be influenced by the kind of convergence of these different Mandalorian cultures coming together.
Yeah, and I would be curious to see how much time is going to pass between now and whatever they do with the next season of Mandalorian. If they end up doing another Mandalorian, if they call it the Mandalorian, right? Because I could see them doing a new series and just call it. I don't know, man. I feel like they've got a brand established enough that they probably would and should do season 4. But
I believe that's all but confirmed, or maybe is confirmed, that they plan to do a season 4.
Okay, well, I think that's a good call. I mean, I would like to see, more of Mandalore get rebuilt. I'd like to see what happens with Navarro. I'd like to see Grogu age a little bit and Din age probably a little bit, and it would be, because it feels like they're telling all of this stuff, Ahsoka, and everything in real time, and they've got like roughly 30 years to fill between now and First Order, roughly. Am I right or not? 20,
Um,
maybe 15. Somewhere between 15 and 20,
I think
I
you're.
guess.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. um, yeah, I would say. Well, so I want to say yeah, it's probably about 15 years before um, the kind of underground forming of what would become the First Order. This is a rough
Yeah.
guess, but
Man, I hope that we get something that is the equivalent of Clone Wars out of the sequels, right?
yeah,
Because, like, the prequels on the whole were not fantastic, but Clone Wars itself, incredible.
it and it
Rebels,
and it also
incredible.
provided so much more context to be able to go like, yeah, this built an interesting world here, and then we got a few, cheesy love stories out of it. But
Yeah,
there was so much
ton of
more story
characters.
to tell, and I think the same thing, is true of the sequels.
Yeah,
There's just a lot that can be put there.
yeah, and a lot that they should do with it. So I don't know. Those are my hopes, is that they go a direction of building that universe out
Yeah,
a little more robustly. But well, any final thoughts? Anything to add that you can think of?
can't wait for Ahsoka.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody on the internet is losing their minds about the orange lightsabers and what the orange lightsabers mean. So
Yep.
yeah, over under on Jaren or Din Grogu showing up in Ahsoka.
I think we're almost 100%. I
Yeah,
would be shocked if we didn't see a crossover.
yep, yep. I'm sure they'll be back. It would have been nice to at least have like that. The Mandalorian will be back or something like that. But
Yeah.
um, you know, I'm good with it. Um, well, I think that. Well, thank you for taking an 8 episode journey and breaking everything down with incredible intensity and incredible specificity, and bringing
Love it.
a deep knowledge of both Star Wars in general, but the prequels and some of the especially Rebels, which I hadn't seen. That added a ton to this, because I wouldn't have had the knowledge to do that on my own at all. But I
This is
love
my
the show.
favorite thing to geek out about.
That's what that's what the whole show is all about, is just having pure positive enjoyment without, because there's enough YouTube channels where it's nothing but negative sentiment about everything, and there's definitely enough of that in Star Wars.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy's getting fired. Didn't you hear?
Yeah, I, there's no reason. Why would you be only mad about something that you purport to love? I just don't know. But
I don't know.
anyway, the world may never know. Um, but thanks again for doing this with me. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody that stuck with us and watched the entire way through. We appreciate it. We will very likely. It sounds like we're trying to put together plans to do a better produced, more high tech and technical version of this for Ahsoka. So yeah, check it out in the future. We will see you again soon.
Peace.
Peace indeed. Bye, everybody.